our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com. Driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app and at JBandGoldwaterShow.com. JB and Darren across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB. And at Darren Goldwater, 843-321-8893 is our phone number. It is our text line as well. And that is part of our Share Healthcare chat line, which Craig and Clint are already into. If you'd like to send us a note via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or text it, whatever you preference, do it. Darren will make sure that you are a part of our program over the next couple of hours, just like David Cloninger will be in about 8 minutes with the Gamecocks and the Post and Courier. He was spending some time with Frank Martin this morning. We'll see what Coach had to say about the upcoming hoop season for Gamecock basketball. And also, of course, this weekend is a big tilt up on Rocky Top between Carolina and Tennessee at noon on Saturday on ESPN2. We'll talk about all of that with him. Also get his thoughts on Stephon Gilmore, who is from where David is from, Rock Thrill, South Carolina, now that he comes home to the Carolina Panthers. We do have David Shelton at 105. High school football set to go tomorrow night. Darren, of course, will be on the call again at MyTV Charleston. We'll tell you which game that is. If you miss him after 2 o'clock on Fridays, you get 5 hours later. Go ahead and get yourself a drink, and you get him for 3 more hours that night. And then it's Scott Glaze at 1:35 this afternoon. The match is back in golf, and I certainly want to get his thoughts. And let's have some fun. What other matches do we want to see? Because as far as I know, that match is just between Brooks and Koepka, Brooks and Bryson, and it's only 12 holes. So what else would we like to see, and who do we want to see play in it? I want something entertaining. Like, I want matches with like David Spade and Adam Sandler. You know what I mean? Like, they should have they should make another Grown Ups movie and have that movie sponsor a match. And have all those guys play.
Kevin Hart. I think I'd like to watch Kevin Hart play golf. My guess is he's not very good, but it'd be some comedic masterfulness, I think. I'll say this about last night. Obviously, we're going to talk about LA. The love from Soto and from Kevin Long, the Nationals hitting coach. They're rocking Nationals Scherzer and Trey Turner jersey, and they're getting spotted. Soto is getting spotted by like everybody, but everybody is missing the fact that the Nationals hitting coach is the dude next to Soto, and the dude on the other side is Scott Boras. Like, that was pointed out by 3 or 4 people as the world unloads that Juan Soto is there. The 2 guys sitting next to him were pretty damn important too.
I know. Well, I didn't know. Before I had the game muted. And by the way, God bless postseason baseball. I mean, how do you not love postseason baseball? Last 2 nights have been legendary, and I got a feeling today and moving forward is going to be just as much so. But I had the game muted because I was talking. My wife and I were talking about something, and I was just watching it, and I was like, who are these 2 doofuses sitting there in Washington Nationals jerseys? jerseys. And then as the camera pretty much right when I thought that kind of zoomed in and they were explaining what was going on there. And I said, well, I'll be John Brown. That's Soto. And started to kind of figure out what was going on. I unmuted it and figured it out there. That was it. That was a pretty neat moment. I guess if you can't be in the postseason, go support the guys that you know who are.
Soto and Turner, I mean, obviously, look, they're sitting there. The wives of Scherzer and Trey Turner, they're there. They're on Instagram in pictures with everybody. They're very close, and they've remained close after the trade. I mean, they've been going back and forth on Instagram. Soto and Turner were duking it out for the batting title in the National League, and they're having fun. And after last night's game, Trey Turner on Instagram throws up a video of him going over to congratulate Soto and Kevin Long. And then there's Scherzer going over to do the same thing. And they're genuinely excited.
Yeah.
Soto's comment as well. I don't know if it was public or just on social media. I didn't know home runs were as fun from the stands.
Yeah, true. And he's hit a lot of them.
Yeah.
Don't get used to it, pal.
No.
That was neat. And the game was fantastic. Classic pitcher's duel until Taylor walked it off. And now you got a Dodgers Giants NLDS, so the rivalry remains in the postseason. You just had the Red Sox knock out the Yankees in that rivalry to move on. They've got Tampa tonight at 8:07 on Fox Sports 1. Eduardo Rodriguez will take the bump for Boston, and Tampa's Shane McClanahan will go opposite him. 4:07 today, Darren. You got game 1 of the ALDS between Chicago and Houston. They don't like each other either from Minute Maid Park. And Lance McCullers will go for Houston, and the Rebel will go for the White Sox. Lance Lynn, former Ole Miss right-hander, who Carolina beat, by the way. He also beat South Carolina. It's neither here nor there. So the big guy's going to get it tonight for Chicago. They got a lot of big guys, as a matter of fact. I'm anxious to see if they can get a bunch of balls to leave the yard in Houston. We'll find out starting later on this afternoon. But it's a great day for sports.
Mm-hmm.
You have both of these games. You've got tonight in the NFL, if you want to check that out on the NFL Network and on Fox, the way that they simulcast this on Thursdays. Joe Buck on the call of the Rams and the Seahawks. So Lumen Field up there in Seattle is going to be rocking and ready to go with this West Coast matchup. And then you've got a couple of games in college football tonight, and one of them has to do with the state of South Carolina, 15th ranked Coastal, 5-0. They're on the road against Arkansas State in beautiful Jonesboro, Arkansas, where they're 20-point favorites in that ball game. Houston and Tulane are tonight on ESPN at 7:30. Tulane is 1-4. They've had a very difficult year, obviously, already with the hurricane displacement and all those type things. They did almost upset Oklahoma in Norman earlier this year. Houston's 2-0 in the American, 4-1 overall, and they're only 6.5-point favorites in the game. So somebody knows something that I don't know. That might end up being a dandy. So it's a really good night for sports. I would suggest starting your drinking a little early, make it a Thirsty Thursday, maybe up at the Dog and Duck, and you can watch all of them here if you're in the Low Country.
You could easily pull that off. For the Houston game, they were underdogs to a 1-win Tulsa team last week, which I jumped on, and I'm glad that I did because they ended up pounding them. So Vegas doesn't like this Houston team, and I'm not sure why. Tulane's offense has been okay. Lane Kiffin, when Ole Miss, before they played them, was hyping them up as like an SEC-type defense because they hit hard. And okay, they're better than I think the record shows, but that line it's worth watching. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be bouncing around, but my eyes are going to be on baseball. I mean, if it can bring you the satisfaction that it's brought the last 2 nights, this has just been. We told you, Darren and I have been trying to tell you, the postseason is special. David, Craig, Clint, all of you, y'all watching baseball? What are you doing with your lives? It's just been really good. The Braves, of course, they'll get rocking tomorrow. We're going to get rocking with David Cloninger with the Post and Courier. He's had a busy morning. We'll get to hoops in a minute. We'll get to Carolina football in just a second. But I have a question for both of you. As I was doing some work this morning and preparing for the show, which that's not the work part. That's the fun part. I decided to sit down, DC, as we lump you into this conversation. I decided to sit down and watch the 25-minute episode of Eli's Places, the latest one called Bootleggers, Gators, and Minutemen. Have either of you seen that episode?
I haven't, but I did see the clip where he's learning how to properly toss the visor, taught by the head ball coach.
Yeah.
I'm right there with DC. That's all I saw too.
So that for Eli is very, I think we all know, is very sneaky funny. And the whole episode, I need to go back and watch the other 5. I learned a lot because he's actually talking. He went to Barry Switzer's house. Well, he calls it a house in Oklahoma. It's about, long story short, is Barry Switzer's dad was a bootlegger. He went to jail for it. And they went to this cabin and kind of remade all this stuff. But they literally, he went out west with Chip Kelly, spent time with him, spent time with Switzer, spent time with Spurrier, and walked through the evolving offenses, the wishbones and all these type things, and how it's all changed going all the way back to like 1901. You learn a lot, but it's also hilariously funny. And the outtakes at the end are just as funny as any part of it. I highly suggest both of you watch that today, not tomorrow, today.
Well, I'll get right on that, Jamie, but some of us do got to work for a living.
The Peyton's Places episodes were they were similar. Really, really funny, engaging conversations. Also, you learn something. Doesn't shock me that the Eli thing is right along the same lines.
So I'll say this, and DC, we're actually going to start with hoops since you just not too long ago were meeting with Frank, but I'll say this to transition to South Carolina. Spurrier made I think everybody feel pretty dumb if you watch this. They were asking him about offense, and Eli said, well, your offensive philosophy is pretty simple, isn't it? He said, yes, it's pretty simple. If there's not a bunch of guys up front, run it. If they're playing deep, throw it in front of them. And if they're playing up close to the line, throw it over their heads. It seemingly worked for me in my career. So, you look at all these offenses and you go, well, I think he's right. If they're playing back, just throw it in front of those guys and somebody should catch it. That's Steve for you though, right? David, you spent a lot of time around him.
Yeah, man, the simple solution is usually the easiest. Or easiest is usually the simplest. So yeah. It does, behoove you to say that, especially when you see problems in football and say, hey, why don't you just do this? And a lot of people answer, oh, well, that's just too predictable. Maybe that's because it works.
Right.
So to me, you just start at the basics and you try not to, glub it up too much with technical talk or any kind of high fancy scheme. Just go with what you have and go with what works.
Yeah. Well said. I did, and by the way, I had no idea that they called Spurrier's offense when he was at Duke. They called it air ball, and every time Duke would score a touchdown, the students would chant air ball just like in hoops. I had no idea they did that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. I've got an old pamphlet from a Steve Spurrier football camp in 1988 that's got that on it. It says air ball.
Wow.
Picture of Clarkston Hines on it.
Really?
All kinds of good stuff.
That's very cool. I had no idea. That's very cool.
You've named today's episode. I appreciate that.
Well, speaking of air balls, DC, I sure hope the Gamecocks aren't throwing a bunch of those up this year in basketball, because that might be it for Frank Martin. What did you learn this morning as he addressed the media in his preseason press conference? From what I understand, he's fairly happy with this group he has. There's a lot of new faces out there, but what did you learn from Frank?
Well, it's really the same thing as every preseason, Jamie. I mean, you can only tell so much from practice, especially when you're a month away from an exhibition game. Never mind just a full regular season game. So it's all about just getting to know each of the players, getting to know what makes each of them tick, what they can do and how they can fit into your rotation. 9 newcomers is not ideal, just because you have to be able to fit those guys in right away, especially considering everything South Carolina is going to face this season, as you mentioned. I mean, everybody knows what went down in the offseason last year and what that's going to mean for this year. So they're kind of up against the wall and saying that you have to, know what you're doing, because you can't really go through the first few games figuring things out. You just don't have that luxury this year, because if you lose a bunch, then South Carolina is pretty much already written off from an NCAA selection committee standpoint. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be until the Gamecocks, if they ever do, become a consistent tournament team. So there's that, but he feels good about the guys he has. He says that he loves the height and the depth in the middle. They got some real big guys down there. they've got some guys that can shoot it. And they've got a freshman in Devin Carter who I was able to watch during the SC Pro-Am. This kid can light it up. He can absolutely light it up. So that's always a good thing to have. And then you do have 3 returning starters in Levesque, Couisnard, and Bryant. So could be a lot better, could be a lot worse, as it usually is. But he likes what he has right now. And most importantly, Frank's feeling better. His eyebrows are growing back. That's a good thing. And as he said, COVID kicked his tail last year. And I'm sure hindsight, maybe there could have been some things done different to make the season a little easier to stomach, but that's not what happened. So he's feeling great. The team's looking good, and you just got to hope that stands pat a month from now.
So, David, did he address the mass exodus of transfers at all, and kind of why those guys all decided to depart the program?
Not really. I mean, nobody asked him that directly, but it was a case of like, well, you knew A.J. Lawson was going to go pro. All right, that's fine. And, Justin Minaya said that he was just going to transfer because he'd been here 4 years and want to see a change of scenery. You kind of get all that. But as for the other ones, man, it's a case where some of those guys, I don't think that they were necessarily wanted back. And I'm not going to say that they were encouraged to transfer, but when those guys said, hey, I'm thinking about transferring, I was like, well, okay, you do what's best for you. So it's not like they ran a bunch of guys off. That is not what happened. And it's not like a bunch of guys said, oh, man, I'm getting out of here because it's a sinking ship. That is not what happened. What happened was what was best for each of those young men, each of the and for the program. And the fact is, South Carolina wasn't going to sit around wringing its hands because those guys did leave. They knew that they had options available, and they knew they had answers in the transfer portal. That's what they went and got. So you do like to have experience coming back, but there's also this case, Jamie, if you've got a lot of experience coming back from a team that went 6-15 and had 4 point guards, none of which could handle the ball, what do you really have?
Right.
I mean, if it had been one thing if A.J. Lawson had transferred, that would be a blow. That would be a huge blow. But he didn't. He went pro, so okay, fine. And then Alonzo Frank, I mean, I think that he's going to be a really solid player, but he was a guy that played 2 games last year and then got knocked out because of COVID. So it's one of those where when he transferred, like, well, you kind of understand. I think it could have been done at a little bit better time, but he's gone, and that's it. I mean, there's no use sitting around here thinking about who you could have had. You just had to go and replace them, and they've got some guys that did that, including an intra-conference transfer with LSU's Josh Gray.
Yep. I don't know much about him. I mean, I obviously know he transferred to South Carolina, and I've heard mixed feelings or mixed, whatever you want to call it, on Josh Gray. What do you think this young man brings to the Gamecocks program?
Well, one thing that you look at him and see right away, Jamie, is he's 7 foot 255. That's a whole lot of man down there in the paint.
Yeah.
Now, LSU, of course, is known for recruiting big guys, and that's great. He didn't play a lot last year because LSU likes to run through their guards. They like to have their big men switch out and shoot a lot of perimeter shots. That's just the way that Will Wade does things, alongside cheating his tail off, but that's a whole other story. But, with
True.
Gray, he's more of a classic back to the basket, true post, put him on the block and let him work kind of guy. So that's not going to work in LSU style of play, and that's why he didn't play. But, coming into here, Frank has always loved to operate that. He loves to play inside out. He loves to have that kind of guy who's back to the basket, give him the ball and either let him score or throw it back outside to a guard. So it's more of a fit here. Now, can I say he's going to be an all-conference player? No, I can't say that. But it's because nobody really knows. He just hasn't gotten that much experience at college because he was in a system that did not fit him very well last year. But in any case, you've got a guy who you can throw out there and say, at least somebody's going to think twice before driving the lane on that sucker. Because if you do, you're going to run into a wall.
No question. No question. Final one here on hoops. I think one of the glaring weaknesses, David, for the last couple of years is they've had guys who can shoot it from time to time, but nobody who can consistently kind of be that guy. You just know AJ had a great career at South Carolina, but he had his off days as well. I mean, where are they from that standpoint, from having guys who can go out and when it's open, hit it, because that's been a problem and it shouldn't be.
Well, that's the thing, Jamie. That's going to be the open-ended question that we probably won't know an answer until they get 5 or 6 games under their belt. If you look at the stats, your leading scorer left, and your second leading scorer was actually Keyshawn Bryant, and that's a good thing. But Keyshawn's a forward. He's going to be a guy who can play out on the wing. They played him a lot at the 3 last year, and he did well. But Keyshawn's more known for his statuesque dunks than being a guy who's going to rain a bunch of 15 to 20-foot jump shots on you, right? So then you look at Jermaine Couisnard, all freshman 2 years ago, and played very well as a freshman. Last year, he was in a terrible shooting slump. If my numbers are right, I think he shot nearly 10% worse than he did the year before. So you look at that and say, the overall points he averaged was good, but the percentage was just bad. He just could not get out of his own way last year, and a lot of that was COVID, not for him, but for the team, and a lot of it was he was going through some off-the-court stuff with his family. So that's all been taken care of. You hope that he's gotten himself straightened out again, and he'll be that guy. But the rest, it's just going to have to be, look, you new guys, you're going to have to come in, you got to score. You're going to have to do something. And you don't have to score 20 a game. But if you can score 5 to 8 points a game and you can get that from all over the lineup, you can do that. So you have James Reese, who did that at North Texas.
Yeah.
You have Chico Carter, who was able to score a little bit at Murray State, was more of a facilitator, a point guard, which the Gamecocks surely need. And you have Eric Stevenson, who's a guy that when he played at Wichita State and at Washington could be a 20-point guy from time to time, but most of us probably about a 9 to 10-point guy, and that's what you got to have too. And Stevenson is a guy that at 6'4" is more comfortable, running the 2 or the 3, but he can also play a point. So that's a good thing to have. But I can't sit here and say the Gamecocks are going to be a great shooting team because, one, I know how silly that is to say it about any Gamecocks team. I've been around here for a while. It's like, oh, okay. But you just don't know. These guys have not played with each other. They haven't played in Frank's system. But the main thing that Frank is going to want to do, defense creates offense. And when you are on offense, you get the ball inside to the big man. And more often than not, that guy's going to get to the free throw line. That's how you're going to get a lot of your points. So that's what I'm expecting to see, at least that system, in once the games start.
Games start November 4th. That's the exhibition against Benedict up there at Colonial Life Arena. USC Upstate is the first official game of the year, also at Colonial Life Arena on Tuesday, November the 9th at 7 o'clock. The SEC Network Plus will televise that, and then it's into the Asheville Championship. Princeton up there in Asheville, North Carolina on ESPN News, 9 o'clock the night before South Carolina plays in Columbia, Missouri in football. Speaking of football, they do have a game this weekend. It's on Rocky Top, a place I've been a bunch of times. David, I know you know it quite well. And South Carolina is looking to go up there and pull an upset, because it would be an upset over Tennessee. Both coaches are in their first year with their respective programs, although it's the 4th year overall for Josh Heupel. I've looked at this, and we've got the Gamecock preview show coming up tomorrow, presented by Motley Rice, as everybody knows, and kind of been going in and out of a bunch of numbers and trends and things like that throughout the week, David. And for me, it just keeps circling back to one thing. It's just not a good matchup. Carolina can't score points. If they can score points, they got a chance. What you saw last week against Missouri, that's not going to happen every week for Tennessee. It was a huge week. It was a huge first quarter. It was a huge first half. The Gamecocks defense is much better than that of Mizzou's. But the problem is, if you got to score 24 or 28 points to beat Tennessee in Knoxville, they haven't proven that they can score more than like 13 as an offense thus far in the last 4 games. So I'm not sure what should give anybody any more courage to jump out on that limb at this point in time. But what have you seen this week? Sat talked to the media yesterday. Where are they offensively, and how are they feeling?
Well, again, Jamie, we're just going to have to see what happens once they get up there on a Saturday afternoon at noon. But you're right. It's hard to say that South Carolina's going to be favored to beat anybody when they can't score the ball. It's really absurd that after 5 games into the season, or really at any point during the season, you have 3 times as many touchdowns scored by your defense as you do by your rushing game. But that's what the situation is right now. So they just got to go out there and try to be better at it. And the main thing, that how you beat Tennessee, It's not just saying, okay, well, if they're going to go fast, we're going to go fast too, and we're going to see who has the ball at the end. Can't do that.
No.
South Carolina just does not have the chops offensively to do that. So the main thing they've got to do, the thing that they can do, is match Tennessee's tempo defensively. You can rotate in quick. You can know your plays before you're going in. You can make the plays, and that's what you got to do. Where it comes in as hope is that you say you hope that they misfire a little bit on some of their early drives. They don't get into a groove, because tempo is great when it works. That's when you're scoring all these points. And how many did they have in the first half last week? 42, 45, something
42.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great when it works. When it doesn't work, Jamie, you have a 45-second 3-and-out possession, and then you get the ball right back. Right. So if you can do that, if you can string a few of those together, and then when your offense gets on the field, just grind the clock. Of course, you're going to have to grind the clock by running the ball, and South Carolina's not been great at that this year. So Tennessee's defense is ranked 10th overall. You hope that they found some kind of answer to why they can't run up the middle, because running around the edges worked pretty well last week. But if they're going to go out there and throw it, which they can do, that's fine. But you have to make sure that you're trying to throw it and run clock, which is not easy to do. So to win this game, I mean, it sounds very elementary. You got to score more than they do. Well, of course you do. But mostly you got to limit Tennessee's opportunities, because more often than not, they're going to score a touchdown with that offense. So you just got to go out there and see if you figured out how to run the ball between the tackles, how to get some of these guys on track. And then if you do get the ball in the fourth quarter, you've always got Parker White in your corner. So that's the way you can go win. But right now it's a lot more hope than it is things you can actually do.
The Vols run 2.89 plays per minute. It's lightning speed out there. As a matter of fact, that's tied for first in the SEC, third nationally with Ole Miss. You mentioned Parker White. Parker White has already been a savior in this series a couple of times. He's 7 for 7 all time against the Vols in kicking field goals. As a matter of fact, I think the strategy is pretty simple, David. Get 2 pick sixes on defense, and just every time you get around the 30, let Parker kick field goals, and then they'll probably win.
Hey, man, that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and chisel that one into cement and say this is the way you win. I mean, I would love to be able to give those commandments, stone tablet style, to Marcus Satterfield and Shane Beamer as they're walking in the park tomorrow or Saturday. But as we all know, guys, I mean, it's like when I do my 4 things to watch. It's real easy to sit there and say, well, just get a defensive touchdown and you're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's that easy, I mean, it's really incredible how USC has gotten multiple takeaways in each game and has scored on 3 of them, because, you can't plan for that. All you can do is play your assignment, hope you're in the right place at the right time, and when it comes to you, you don't miss. Well, they haven't. They've got 9 interceptions in 5 games, and they've recovered a bunch of fumbles too. That defense has been great to watch this season. And I'm not saying it's going to run out, but it's saying that the plays that can really help you out by getting on the board, getting deep into their territory, you just can't plan that stuff.
Yeah.
And they've been going USC's way so often. Right now, you got to figure the law of averages is going to kick in at some point.
David Cloninger, Post and Courier. DC, this is the 30th year in the SEC for South Carolina. I'm going to say this number. Many will laugh. It's still something to be proud of. If they do win Saturday, it will be the 100th all-time SEC win for South Carolina. You all can do the math as to how many that average comes out to each season. But this series, though, in particular, has still, even with the 20-point Tennessee win, and that's because South Carolina forgot that they had to play a second half 2 years ago in Knoxville when they were shut out 24-0 up there under Coach Muschamp. Even with that 20-point loss against the Vols, this is still an average margin of victory one way or another over the last 10 years of 5 points. It's still maybe the closest series in the SEC. And this is Georgia, I think, to fans will still always be rival number 1 in the SEC. But if you really want to look at what a rivalry is, this is what it is right here. Since Spurrier arrived at South Carolina, David, Gamecocks have had their share of wins here. 5-5 in the last 10 games. If they win on Saturday, they'll be 9-8 in the last 17 matchups against the Vols. I mean, this has become a really good rivalry. Tennessee people still don't look at it that way, but I got news for him. That's exactly what it's been over about the last 2 decades.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the reversal of the way that South Carolina fans still look at Kentucky. You know,
Exactly.
be like, it's just Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky's won 7 out of 8. It used to be an automatic win. It's not used to be anymore. And South Carolina, while Tennessee still holds the upper hand, and in terms of the overall series, in terms of national stature for their program, it's been a real close series these past few years. And I think that Tennessee always, like a lot of people does, looks at South Carolina and says, well, that's an automatic win. Okay, I guess that's why you've had to get rid of 2 coaches after they've lost to South Carolina. So it's strange how that all works out. But, it is a case where I think that Tennessee knows you can definitely try or beat these guys, but if you don't, there's going to be hell to pay. So that's always kind of the case with Tennessee. They're, a lot of times these past, I guess, 10 to 15 years, they've maybe believed their own BS a little too much. But that's why they're in the situation they're in, where they do have a really good offensive coach in there now, but it took them a long time to get there. And they're still paying off, 2, 3 other coaches, 3 other athletic directors. That's what happens when you start to knee jerk. So it's a case of where you've got one side of the ball figured out up on Rocky Top, but it's still going to take you a couple years to be truly relevant. South Carolina can delay that progress with a win on Saturday.
Can you compare these 2 coaches in the situations they've walked into now that we've actually seen the teams play football games? Gamecocks through 5, 3-2. You got the Vols up there at 3-2. Heupel has been a head coach before, clearly down at Central Florida, but it's his first time taking over an SEC program. A lot of folks thought that these two programs were very similar in having to hire new head coaches here in 2021. Now that we've seen them coach a few games out there, does it give you a better idea of where the programs were before these guys took over, and where do you think they are now after about half a season?
I mean, it's all subjective, Jamie. I mean, you look at Tennessee and say things were going so bad the past few years, where they had a brief little run there, won 8 games in a row, spanning 2 seasons, but then it all crashed down. I mean, those teams lost because of a combination of different things. But so you bring in Josh Heupel, which again wasn't their first choice, and again it was kind of a convoluted process. But he's a guy that will definitely give you an offense. Okay, well, yeah, he's done that. Terrific. All right, great. But you still got to be able to stop people. And when you go up against a team like Pitt, that's not going to work. And while they've beaten Missouri and beat them convincingly, and they've beaten a couple other teams, they've yet to play a team like Georgia. So we'll see how that goes when they play them. As with South Carolina, I mean, you look at Shane Beamer and say, never been a coordinator, never been a coach. He doesn't have that built in, okay, he's going to fix this part first and then get to the rest. It was going to be a rebuild on all parts of the ball. But as part of that, Jamie, it's always going to be about how are the kids in the locker room, how is the culture of your team. I think we can all agree Shane Beamer's changed that completely. And that's great, but that doesn't win ball games. So they're figuring out the ways to win ball games. And I mean, I'll be the first to say I didn't expect much out of this defense this year. What was there to expect? It was bad last year, and you lost a whole lot of guys, right? Well, they've been terrific. So that just comes into the part of Shane knew enough to say Clayton White can fix my defense. That's what he's done. Now, he also said Marcus Satterfield's going to be able to call some great offense for me. Well, that has not come to pass thus far. Now, it can still happen, but, right now it's at the part of if your offensive line can't block in the middle, you can't run up the middle, and you're not going to be able to run the ball much at all. And so I don't know if you can trust your wide receivers to go catch it 40 times a game. So you start to figure it all out. I mean, you can compare the coaches. They're both first year, whatever, but it's like Heupel at least has this one part, this major part of the game in his back pocket. I'm going to fix this and we'll get the rest figured out. Well, that's what he's doing, and that's what should happen over the next couple of years. With Shane, and it's not a detractor or anything, but I'm more of a guy, you got to build it from the ground up, and we attack all phases equally. So right now you've got a good bunch of kids, good bunch of coaches, good support staff, and your defense is playing much better than expected. That's good. You're 3-2 after 5 games, but you know that your defense is not going to win you a lot of games, not in this league. So you've got to get that offense fixed. And I'm not going to say one's better than the other, but I think both programs are very satisfied with what they have right now.
And special teams has been very good for Shane thus far.
Yeah.
Very good.
And that's coming in where it's like, hey, you shouldn't have to touch this too much because you got one really good punter and then a kicker who's been here for 12 years.
Yeah, 12.
You should be
longer than that.
And he has been.
Yeah, Parker's been around a while. He's got a chance to tie Elliott Fry this weekend as well for field goals made if he kicks one in the game against Tennessee. You mentioned, I know you got things on your plate. And we'll let you. I'm going to let you go here in just a couple of minutes. But last week was such a strange game, David. Luckily, it ended up being a win for South Carolina, but it was very poorly done on the offensive side. I'm not just talking about yardage and things like that. The penalties, it's gotten to it's a joke really for South Carolina. They got to get it cleaned up, and they haven't gotten it cleaned up. They're almost halfway through the season here. Jamar Brown drops the ball on the goal line, and then Tuesday, kudos to him. He stands up, he owns it. Very mature response, I thought. But you mentioned the culture. Luke Doty is under center pretty much permanently now as a starting quarterback, and these guys, I almost feel when I listen to the players, I can hear some Shane Beamer in a lot of those guys and how it's like they're, today's Tuesday and it's better than it was on Monday, and Monday's better than it was on Sunday. It almost seems like they've just totally blocked out everything that's happened thus far, and they're just focused on that moment at that point in time. Do you get that similar feel when you're in there talking to these guys each week, and how do you think that's going to continue to grow the football program as the season goes on?
Well, I do get that feeling, Jamie. But of course, while they'd like to have a couple of these games back, they're winning right now. They got a winning record. So it's easy to say that now when you haven't strung a bunch of losses together. You got to wait through the whole season and then see how it's going to be. Like, say, if they drop 5 in a row and are staggering into that final game. So it has been different. It's much better than last year. That much is clear. But you still got to judge it throughout an entire season. So we'll see how it goes. But it is a good bunch of kids, and they're always going to mimic what their coaches say in public, and these guys have done that. So from that standpoint, you say, okay, well, that's a good thing, but you've still got to go out there and win the game. With the penalties, it is inexcusable. It is distressing to see, because the worst thing you want to hear about a new coach coming in is saying they look undisciplined. But that word is appropriate right now because some of these penalties are completely avoidable. Now, Zach Pickens didn't rough the quarterback last week. That was a crap call.
Yeah.
I personally don't agree with R.J. Rodgers getting called for targeting. It does kind of fit the rule where he launched himself at the QB. I'm like, man, he had his arms out. I think that's a case of you called it by the rule, but the rule needs to be changed. So whatever. But man, come on, jumping off sides, false starts. How did Ja'Kai Moore get 2 penalties back-to-back plays?
Right.
That just cannot happen. And, they've calmed down the personal fouls. Okay, great. Now let's calm down the other ones. So you keep coaching it. You just hope it doesn't happen. But, of course, in the heat of battle, sometimes it does. Sometimes one bad call gets you mad enough and you lose your focus, and then you commit another one. But they've got to get that part figured out. And I don't know if it's more punishment in practice or, just changing how they try to coach it, but it's got to stop, because there's nothing that'll lose a game, more than just quick penalties.
Steve Spurrier it was pretty easy for him. Get him out there and give another guy a chance. He used the bench to his advantage a lot, and maybe that needs to be the case here and there. Finally, Stephon Gilmore, he's actually from the home of David Cloninger. He kind of tried to followed in your footsteps. He wasn't he wasn't an exceptional journalist, so he decided to play football. But he is going to come back home and play for the Panthers. What is it? What's that mean to you? What was that? What would you feel like when you got that news? Him and JC are going to be opposite each other, but we all know Stephon Gilmore is a great human being, and the Panthers are basically bringing him home.
Well, let me break it down for you. I saw, in the morning that they put out that he wasn't going to come to terms with the Patriots and they were going to release him or trade him, and I knew that was coming. Stephon had already put his house in Boston up on the market, and that was a year ago. So you knew that it was going to happen sometime. So I was thinking then, man, that's 31 teams that are basically going to be, hey, Stephon, why don't you come play for us? And me being a San Francisco 49ers disciple, I thought, boy, they could use some help in the secondary. Maybe I'll give a call to my good friend John Lynch and say, hey, listen, why don't you come talk to this guy? I can personally vouch for him. So then I see that he signs with the Panthers. I'm like, well, hey, he lives in Rock Hill in the off season. He'll be close to his family. He can play right there. That's good for him. The other thing I said was can't be repeated on air because I'm not a fan of the Carolina Panthers. Never have been and never will be.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, so now I got to watch you playing for that team. It's the ultimate thing of where you want the kid to do well, especially him because I do know him personally and watched him grow up. But, man, it's going to be tough seeing him wear that uniform. It's kind of like, if any of when Devontae Holloman, when he played pro, when he went to the Cowboys, I was like, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So, but, that's going to be cool because I still go to a lot of games in Rock Hill on Friday nights. So maybe Stephon will pop down there and see him sometime. So that'd be nice to see. But great kid, great human being, great football player. And I wish him well in his future endeavors. I will not say the same for the team he's joining.
So you're with me that the whole we're both Carolina thing is just hogwash.
Yeah, well, a lot of people tell me, hey, you need to support your hometown team, and I say I'm from Rock Hill.
Right.
There you go.
That's not even the same state.
Nope.
Thank you.
I mean, and
I
from
agree.
my experience, and it's mine, I find out that you never find many Carolina Panthers fans in the great state of South Carolina until they're winning.
Right.
Then you can't find enough of them.
That's right.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they're around every corner.
Yeah.
But when they're their usual, it's like, So now I realize some of my dislike of them may be considered irrational to some, but we'll stipulate. I'll say you can't understand my irrational dislike of the Carolina Panthers, and you never worked at the Rock Hill Herald. So just leave it at that.
There you go.
Well, a lot of newbies to this state don't realize that back in the day, the team of South Carolina was the Washington Redskins. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of Falcons fans too.
In season game at Williams-Brice every year.
That's right. Yeah.
They would play the Jets. And for some reason, they called it the backyard battle. I don't know why, but they did.
Yeah.
That's why my brother is a Redskins fan or whatever they call themselves these days.
Go team.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's and the thing is, growing up in the South and in South Carolina, when you were watching TV on Sunday afternoons, who'd you watch? Redskins. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the Steelers would be on there.
Yep.
The Cowboys were usually on the primetime games. And now you find the Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, those teams. So even me becoming a 49ers fan in the third grade, mind you, was considered fortunate.
Yeah. That's very true.
I never get to watch them here, man. I mean, you got to find somebody with a ticket, which hardly anybody has because it's expensive. But otherwise, I got to wait until they're on prime time, Thursday or Monday or Sunday night. And so I got to watch them last Sunday night, which was just excruciating as always because they left 37 seconds for Aaron Rodgers to beat them, and of course he did.
Yeah, that's right.
This is what happens when you suit up. And I'm not even going there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I've said my piece on it before. I'm not saying no more.
We'll let you run on that one, man. Really good stuff. I'm assuming you're making the trip to Rocky Top tomorrow sometime?
I will be. Yeah, I'm planning to get there around 3 o'clock, and the Braves start losing at 4:30, so it all works out.
Oh, come on. They're going to win the World Series.
Okay. You wouldn't want to put money on that, would you?
Yeah. No, Darren's money, certainly, but I still owe you that $5.
I'm not putting my money on that, no.
Hey, Darren, by the way, we need $5 because when I texted DC this morning about being on today, he texted me back, sure, for $5. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the going rate for all appearances on the show, so you're backlogged a little bit.
Yeah, we are.
and don't think my associates don't know about it.
Oh.
Rocco, see if you can help Jamie find his checkbook, will you?
So they still use checkbooks? Golly, I didn't even know I had one of those. Well, like I said, I think you're worth at least 10, man. So we really appreciate it. Beautiful time of the year to drive to Rocky Top. It really is. So
Hey, man, I'm sitting here watching the Gamecocks scrimmage in baseball right now. There's nothing better than sitting here on a nice, cool day watching a game that doesn't count in the standings.
Yeah,
it's great.
That's
I'm
true.
Scouting future players and seeing what's going on. And freshman Carson Horning hit one over the Williams Street fence a couple innings ago. I mean, he knocked the crap out of that thing. So that was the guy who went deep today.
Gonna need a few more of those. Pass along our best to Mark and Scotty. If you see Wingo, tell him I said hello. I still need to catch up with him. Old squirrel up there, coaching him up. Thank you, David.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Always. Absolutely. David Cloninger on Twitter at DCPNC. If y'all haven't subscribed, by the way, to that Gamecock newsletter through the Post and Courier, you should. It's really good. It's really, really good. He writes so differently in that than how he writes in the Post and Courier each day. And really good stuff. Really good stuff.
He lets his personality go a little bit more. I mean, it's more of a free-flowing, just, here's what I'm thinking, as opposed to I got to be careful of how I say what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very, very well done. Very well done. Just like this show. Just kidding. 12:45 Thursday afternoon. MotleyRice.com. If you've been harmed by medical drugs and devices or burdened by an auto recall, maybe like the Takata airbags, you need to go to Motley Rice. If you know somebody, you don't have to go there for them. Just say, hey, dude, check out MotleyRice.com. You had a problem. You are probably entitled to something here, and you need to let them know that you've got an issue. That's what they're there for. MotleyRice.com. Causes, not just cases. Headquartered right here in the low country of South Carolina. Buy one, get one half off footlong cheesesteaks. If you are in the low country, DBs, they got you covered today. If you've ever seen those footlongs, that's enough for two. So you buy two, guess what? You got a family of four. You're all fed. And then you can just get one large fry. They just dump them in there like they do at Five Guys. Make sure you get the boardwalk fries with the Old Bay seasoning. Buy one, get one half off. Footlong cheesesteaks at DB's. Footlong. Who wants the footlong? Not the wieners, though, like in Dumb and Dumber. Cheesesteaks at DB's. DB'scheesesteaks.com. All right, got to hit a timeout. When we return, we'll peek at this weekend's schedule. We got into some of it yesterday. It is another big weekend in college football that we can't wait for, certainly. And then we do have David Shelton with the high school slate. Scott Glaze as well ahead to round us out here on this Thursday afternoon. But hang tight. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. for all your football, college, and NFL. The Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. I don't want to work either. Fortunately, we have a day and a half of this left. 12:50 Thursday afternoon. Excuse me while I'm actually doing work right here, Darren, to make sure that I'm.
We got a short, thanks to the whole Facebook crash, we did get a short week. I mean, we did the work before the show and then didn't use the work, but we got a short week. So
I'd be fine with it. I'd be fine with it crashing every Monday.
Why not? Especially if you keep losing every Saturday.
It's true.
Although you did win last Saturday, yeah.
Whatever. 12:51. There's some news. You've probably seen it out of the NBA. We'll try to get to some of the names in a little while, but 18 former NBA players charged with defrauding the league's health and welfare benefit plan out of about $4 million. I never understand these. We've seen these before, like I think the NFL. Yeah. Joe Horn, J.C. Horn's father was one. And a few they defraud these healthcare plans.
Bortis got into something too.
He was part of that.
Yeah.
He was part of that. I've never understood that. Like, don't you have to submit the documents from the doctors? So how do you do this?
I don't understand it. I mean, first you got to be smart enough to even pull it off for a certain period of time. Then you get caught, and it's not like they're hurting for money in the first place. So the whole thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No. These guys are in hot water. I think 16 of the 18 have already turned themselves in. I wouldn't say any huge names, but Tony Allen, he was on the 08 Celtics championship team. Sebastian Telfair, I think he was the number one pick in the draft at one point in time. But anyways, before we get to football, I see some of you are bumping around about the Panthers. Delta 900, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I'll call you by your screen name. How about that? Wasn't there talk back in 95 of the Panther Stadium being built on the state line? There was talk before that. There was talk just a couple of years ago of rebuilding it, getting it out of Charlotte, and literally they were going to purchase property that was owned by I think a farmer or something right there on the state line, and that's where they were going to build the practice facility, this village, and a brand new ballpark. And then they decided not to do that. They're going to leave it right there in downtown Charlotte, and they are building the new facility stuff over there in Indian Land,
closer to the border, correct? Or
absolutely. Even basically on the border, essentially, but in South Carolina.
Yeah, the whole play for we're both Carolinas.
Yeah,
you'd play on that.
Right. And Clint, I love you, but you're wrong. Laughing at my man David Cloninger. You could sneeze in Rock Hill and spread COVID to somebody in Charlotte. Let me tell you, those Rock Hill guys are proud of being from Rock Hill. That's the way it is up there. Don't tell them they're from Charlotte, and I don't blame them because they're not from Charlotte. They're from Rock Hill.
Just like a 15-minute ride.
I played baseball in college with a guy who ended up playing for what, 2 years, 3 years at Carolina. Harley Lale, who was our right fielder. He was from Indian Land. Everybody said, "Oh, Harley, he's from up there in Rock Hill." Oh, hell no. He was from Indian Land. Period. The end. Yeah, don't go messing around with those dudes now. You know how it is in the South. You're from where you're from. Period. The end. Not just the reference point. So I love you, Clint. I got your back, but I can't have your back right there. All right, this weekend, college football's got all of our backs because there are once again great games. By the way, could be a sneaky good game late tomorrow night on ESPN at 10:30, Darren, between Stanford and Arizona State. Stanford upset Oregon last week. They're getting healthier. Arizona State is home, and they are 13-point favorites. We'll pick this game tomorrow, but just keep an eye on it. But then it all starts on Saturday as part of our Post-Up Careers weekend resume at noon with Oklahoma and Texas, 6:21 matchup there. That's where College Game Day is going to be. It's on ABC from the Cotton Bowl. Can I just raise my hand and say that I love the fact that they still play this game at the Cotton Bowl? I love that. I love old school football. They'll be in Dallas, where Oklahoma's a 3-point favorite there. The biggest game is the Big Ten game between Iowa and Penn State, where Iowa's a 1.5-point favorite at 4 o'clock on Fox from Kinnick. We're certainly going to pick that game and talk about it tomorrow a lot with Rafael Esparza. And I don't care who wins a game. I know Darren certainly probably cares. I think we all know exactly who he's pulling for. But I will say this is going to be a great moment for Fox. Not just the game as a 3-4 matchup in the afternoon, which, by the way, is competing with the traditional afternoon slot of CBS, which generally has the game of the week in the SEC and nationally at 3:30. That's where everybody's eyes usually are, the most eyes at least. But they get to do the Kinnick Wave, tomorrow or Saturday afternoon with the Children's Hospital right there. And as I've grown to be a father and the things we've gone through in our lives, I'm a big fan of this. So this is probably my new favorite tradition in college sports. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. You got Arkansas and Ole Miss at noon on ESPN. Also a great noon slate. Clearly Tennessee and South Carolina is at noon on ESPN2. What that Iowa-Penn State game competes with, Darren, Auburn and Georgia from Jordan. All of you who don't understand that it's spelled Jordan but pronounced Jordan, let me inform you, it is Jordan because Shug Jordan was the coach there. That's how it's pronounced. Don't screw that up if you ever go to Auburn. They will literally wrap you in toilet paper, throw you over a tree. LSU and Kentucky at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Bama, A&M, BYU and Boise State, a sneaky good game potentially as well at 3:30 on ABC. That's a great game for ABC out west. BYU's 5.5-point favorite. And then keep an eye on that Notre Dame Virginia Tech game, man. LSU, Kentucky. Everybody's paying attention to the ranked matchups, rightfully so, Darren. But that LSU, Kentucky, there's a lot riding on that game because of the future of Ed Orgeron. And there's a lot riding on that Virginia Tech Notre Dame game. Virginia Tech's trying to win an ACC championship. And Notre Dame is trying to stay in the mix for New Year's Six. They lose, they're out of there.
There's a lot on the line in a couple different games. So what you just said about Notre Dame, Virginia Tech is obviously spot on right there. Kentucky, a report just came out from Bruce Feldman a couple minutes ago, so I haven't read the whole thing. I've seen the headline that he could be, in Feldman's estimation, one of the hottest coaches to pursue if Kentucky finishes out this year with an 11 win in that range.
Mark Stoops?
Season.
Mark.
Yeah, did I say Bob? Mark Stoops.
No, I don't think you mentioned his name. I was assuming you meant him and not Ed Orgeron.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's the other storyline right there. Ed Orgeron and LSU and where that team is. Obviously, there's a big storyline around Penn State and Iowa. I mean, the winner of that game comes out looking like it's the best team in the Big Ten. They're both led by their defenses. Iowa has 12 turnovers this year. They forced 7 of them against Maryland. They had 6 interceptions against Maryland. Yeah. That's going to be dangerous, but they don't have an offense that can drive the ball. So we can break that down more and more as we dive into it. But it will outdraw viewership-wise. It'll outdraw that CBS game. There's no doubt about that.
I think it will. I think it will. I mean, there's a lot of people though that do want to see Georgia play football right now.
Oh yeah, that game will crush it. But the Penn State Iowa game will outdraw it. Penn State already has 2 of the top 10 most viewed games this year, as they should. Right? They've got the Wisconsin game and the Auburn night game on ABC, so it makes sense.
Yeah, CBS should have selected a 6-day hold and moved Georgia and Auburn to the 8 o'clock CBS is what they should have done. They didn't do that. I don't see Bama keeping it close I don't see A&M keeping it close with Bama at this point in time. You never know, but yeah, it's going to be quite a Saturday. And then final quick note here. By the way, I'm with you, Clint. I don't. People can throw Mark Stoops around all they want to. I am 99.9% sure he is not leaving Kentucky. He has literally put everything in his life into getting that thing turned around. And he's got a chance to literally own every record ever up there over Bear Bryant. I don't see it. Why? Like, why would you do that? Where are you going to go? You got a good thing going. They gave you all the time in the world to get it going. I just don't see it. I see him making more money in Lexington. Final quick nugget here. This is not on our post-up careers resume. And I know we got to get to a break because David Shelton's coming up next, but this is just remarkable. An SEC game, all SEC, Vanderbilt, Florida. Any guesses what the spread is in this game?
Oh, I did see it. I think it was like 36, 38. It's in that range, isn't it? 39?
39.
Yeah. I'm close.
39. Oh, man. Unbelievable. Vanderbilt is just All right, hour in the books, an hour to go. Shelton, Glaze up next on the JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Cloninger, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. StonoFerryGolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Cloninger, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
live, loud, and online.
Okay, final hour Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show. Very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases. MotleyRice.com. Make sure you've downloaded our app. It's free. You can always head to JBandGoldwaterShow.com as well. This program driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. JB and Darren taking you until 2 o'clock. Scott Glaze is ahead in about a half hour, but first we've got David Shelton with the Post and Courier. It's time for high school football, but as we bring David in here, you know, he actually knows a lot about college football as well, so we'll lump him into this conversation. He knows, he's one of those guys that knows a lot about everything, you know, badminton, croquet, all that stuff. But David, before we went to break, we kind of got into this little conversation about Mark Stoops and what he's been able to do at Kentucky. He was 12-26 in his first 38 games, and the Wildcats gave him plenty of time. He got it turned around, and look at what he's doing now. It's fairly remarkable. Nobody's done this out there since Bear Bryant. And Darren mentioned that if he continues on this track this year, 10-2, oh my God, could you imagine 11-1 in Lexington or something like that? You know, hot name, would he leave? I don't think he would leave, but I thought about it during the break. If Mike Norvell doesn't survive Florida State, which he might not, what about Florida State? He was a defensive coordinator down there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. You know, I don't know the guy, but I would think the loyalty shown to him when he was 12-26.
Yeah.
I would think you got to repay that. And going to the ACC from the SEC, you know, I don't know the guy's personality. I don't know what drives him, but I mean, he's got a pretty good gig in Kentucky. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they may have a great year, but I mean, you win 8 games at University of Kentucky, you can pretty much eat at any restaurant in town for free, and you're going to make a living, and you're not going to get fired. You know, and Florida State is such a mess right now. I don't know. I mean, now money talks and BS walks, but you know, I mean, if Florida State were to come at him with a major amount of money, which I don't know how they could, if they'd have to be paying off the contract of the other guy, Norvell, but you know, would Kentucky match that? You know, I mean, maybe. I don't know enough about that situation. I know basketball is king, but for him to do what he's done, I mean, I'm not a Kentucky fan, and you know, I mean, I watch football and I, you know, form my own opinions based on what I see with my eyes. But I mean, the guy is, I mean, he's like a king there right now, and again, win 8 games, go to a bowl, you know, win a bowl game every other year. Kentucky's not going to fire you. I mean, you're set for life. But you know, the competitive nature in coaches, you know, maybe he would look at a Florida State and go, you know what, I want to go and I want to be the guy to turn that around. And Florida State maybe could pay, but again, I think the loyalty thing, and again, I don't know the guy, but if it were me, and they stuck with me when I won 12 games and lost 26, then I felt I would feel obligated at some level to repay that loyalty.
I was going off what so Bruce Feldman basically put something out, who obviously, you know, he's a well-respected guy, and it's only pure, clearly at this point, speculation. And he says at this point, it seems like he would be one of the hot commodities. I'll say this. I'll just throw in a hot take here for you. I think Kentucky's season is going to come crashing down at some point. They're not nearly as good as the record shows.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I you know, if they win 10 or 11 games, I'll eat that mac and cheese that y'all talked about last week. Ice cream mac and cheese.
I got to order
But I don't see them winning. I mean, they were not impressive against South Carolina.
Or against Florida.
Their quarterback is not good. Their quarterback is not going to beat, Georgia or I mean, they're good enough to beat Florida. But I mean, that was more the defense, honestly. And they are good on defense, but that offense, it's not gonna play deep into the season, I don't think.
I mean, they know that the one thing you can say about the Wildcats, David, is they know exactly who they are, and who they are is big and physical up front, and they tell you we're going to run the football, and they do it. And thus far it's worked. I mean, when you look at their schedule, LSU's going to have a difficult time on Saturday night. LSU's really struggling. LSU's a better football team, a more talented football team. They're not a better football team. They're more talented. But if Kentucky wins that game Saturday night, guys, they're not winning in Athens the following week. Nobody's going to beat Georgia unless it's Bama at the end of the year. They'll have a challenge in Starkville on Halloween weekend, no doubt about that. But then Tennessee, Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, and Louisville, they're better than all those teams. So,
I think Tennessee's the better team.
I don't know.
I've been saying that for now a couple of weeks, that I'm higher on Tennessee than most people are on Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee,
I'll have to wait. I'll wait to see how they play this weekend.
They're
if they hammer South Carolina pretty good, then I'm a buyer. But I mean, if South Carolina can score a little bit, I think Carolina's defense will shut down that running game, and I don't think they have a good enough quarterback to beat good defenses. But I think if Carolina can shut that running game down and find a way to score, 24 points, again, if the defense scores, that's great. they tend to do that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sold on Tennessee yet. But I'm not sold on Kentucky either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tennessee gives up 34 points per game against FBS opponents. So defensively, they're not good. You just got to be able to put some points on the board. And clearly, South Carolina can't do that. All right, David, let's get to some high school football this week. And I was kind of glancing over the schedule, and what I've learned is we still don't really know who anybody is because of what happened to start the year. Like with all the COVID stuff and all the cancellations, and this team's played 2 games, and this one's played 5, and this one's played 3, and this one's played 6 or 1 or whatever it is. It's strange because generally you get to mid-October in high school football and you're like, oh, these are the good teams and these are the bad teams. But I don't really even feel comfortable saying that at this point.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking about this watching the Cane Bay Wando game Friday night, and after I would say Fort Dorchester and Goose Creek, and they play each other this Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oceanside and Hanahan, and they play each other coming up here soon. I think maybe next week or the week after. But after those 4 teams, I'm tempted to put Somerville in that mix because of their defense, but I'm not sure offensively they're great. But their defense they're good. I mean, their secondary, their linebackers, their front, they're good. It's just not. It's not a really strong. I mean, it's not good in the Low Country. I'm just be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
I think clearly. Even though Somerville beat Goose Creek, I still think Goose Creek and Fort D are the 2 best teams, and I would put Oceanside at number 3. But after that, I mean, Cane Bay's 5-1, and I'll be honest with you, I was impressed. Now Wando is I don't want to hurt your feelings, Jamie, but I mean they're not a great football team right now. But I was impressed with Cane Bay. I mean, they have linemen. They have an extreme amount of speed in the backfield. Those 2 track guys that are, state track champions, the quarterback and I guess they call them the B-back. They can go. I mean, they got wheels. And they're pretty good on defense. But again, they haven't beaten a lot of quality opponents yet. West Ashley was a good win, and West Ashley's starting to put it together a little bit. But I'm still not sure how good they are. You know, I mean, they beat Stahl and they beat Stratford. Stratford's not very good at this point. I mean, they could get better. They gotta get some guys back, but it's just not. I watch games on Friday night, and there are good players. Every team has good players. Wando has Roaring, the running back, and their secondary, it's got some pretty good players. But they're not a great team on both sides of the ball. You know, Goose Creek and Fort, they clearly have the most talent. Oceanside has pretty good talent. Hanahan's got some good players, not a lot across the board. So, you know, the Midlands and the Upstate have taken over the mantle. I guess the PD is pretty decent. But we got to do better down here. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, we just got to get better. And I know it goes in cycles. And again, after the top 3 or 4 teams, it's pretty average. Maybe a team like Cane Bay can make a push towards being more of a 7-8 win team. Berkeley, I mean, they've only played 3 games, and they're 1-2, and got hammered the other night by Goose Creek.
Yeah, and took some. I don't know the extent of the injuries that we saw too, but they took some injuries too.
Yeah, well, they've had a few injuries. They have some COVID issues. They've not been able to get any semblance of what they want. Plus, you know, they're learning a whole new defense and a whole new offense. This is not what they were doing last year or the last 5 years under Randy Robinson. This offense is a big difference. And it has taken time, and what you need is games. And they haven't had enough games to figure out how good they are. They got good running backs, but I heard their quarterback got hurt the other day.
Yep.
You know, he wasn't a world beater, but he was pretty good in that offense. You know, he was learning it and could do some things. But you know, I'm not sure where Berkeley is right now, and I don't even know if Jerry Brown's sure, because they just haven't played enough. You can practice and practice and practice, but you know, as Allen Iverson said, you know, you talking about practice?
Yeah.
Well, you got to play games. You got to play games, and Berkeley's going to have to play some games now. But you know, I think Wando will. It's going to benefit Wando Friday night having just played Cane Bay, because they run the exact same offense as Berkeley. That will benefit Wando, but Wando's, you know, quarterback, although he didn't play bad the other night, but really right now, I think what you're seeing with Wando, teams are just trying to take away Des Morin, and they're focused on nobody else can beat us but this cat, and he's good. And they just need some other guys to step up. Defensively, they're not awful. They gave up a couple of huge plays against. Cane Bay threw a 90-yard touchdown pass, and Cane Bay doesn't get 90 yards passing over 3 games. So I mean, they had 155 the other night, which is astounding for Cane Bay if you've ever seen them play.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, Wando, we're not going to make this all about Wando, but they don't have a quarterback, and they haven't since before the year started. They literally, I told you last week, I mean, they literally, my cousin was getting a couple reps here and there at quarterback. He hadn't played quarterback since he was 12. They just needed to make
didn't play, and the kid didn't play bad the other night.
No, he's just young, man.
But he's not good enough to beat you.
No.
And I think Cane Bay and other teams will say, we take away Des Loring, we don't think the quarterback and receivers are good enough to beat us. Now, maybe they will be. But, I mean, his numbers, I want to say it was like 12 or 13 passing, but everything was really short.
Yeah, dink and
dunk. Just get rid of the ball quick, because nothing downfield, and Cane Bay was able to rally to the ball and that kind of thing.
All right, so are you going to be at the Fort D Goose Creek game tomorrow?
Yeah, I was one of my most favorite texts of the week was when Darren texted me earlier today and said he was going to get West Ashley with the TV, and I was like, yes.
So we did the Goose Creek game last week, and it flew. Granted, they demolished Berkeley, so it's not like Berkeley and then we're just running back and forth. They couldn't be stopped. They literally just towards the end of the game they just couldn't be stopped. But the game flew.
Yeah, I don't know what flew means.
We were off the air by 10.
No way.
Yeah.
That's just my luck. That is just my luck. Although I will say the Cane Bay Wando game was over by like 9:20 the other night. I was in the press box and filed my story and doing the scoreboard show at 10 o'clock. For the first time this year, I was waiting on them to come on the air because I was done with my work, which was awesome.
That was, well, maybe we've turned the corner for both.
If you ever want that Berkeley Cane Bay game, if there are not a lot of penalties and turnovers, that game could be done in 90 minutes, literally, because they run the same offense. Cane Bay is just typically 6-minute drives. They just run. The clock never stops except when the chains move. That game just flew by the other night.
Well, how do you see this Goose Creek Fort D game? I mean, what type of threat are the Gators to give Fort Dorchester their first loss?
Well, I worry about their defense. I think they played well against Berkeley, but Fort is a different animal. Fort's got half a dozen receivers. Their running game has been coming on. They've got a really good quarterback, obviously. Their defensive front will be as good as Somerville, and Goose Creek did not handle Somerville very well. Darren was at that game. So I think they've got the potential. They do throw the ball pretty well, and but their defense has just they're going to have to play. I mean, they've got players over there. But they're getting better. But I mean, again, I've said this before. To beat Fort, you got to get in the 30s. I just, last year in the playoffs, they got beat by River Bluff, scored 1 touchdown. That is an outlier. That is, people go, well, Shelton says you got to score 30. Well, okay, that was one game. You got to they played Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach scored 27 and lost because Fort got 31. I think Fort is going to find a way in every game, except maybe Somerville, that they're going to score 4 to 5 touchdowns somehow. So going in, you've got to match that. You lose 28-14, okay, close game, 2 touchdowns, but again, you didn't get to 30. And I just think Fort is good enough offensively to get 4 touchdowns at least on Goose Creek. And then it's going to come down to Goose Creek executing. They got to block better. Simmons, I know they throw the ball very well, but Simmons, that running back, is the whole key to that offense. He had 209 yards the other night against Berkeley. They win. He had 56 against Somerville. They lose. So there you go.
Felt like he had 409 against Berkeley.
Well, that's how he plays because they do throw the ball to him as well.
Yeah.
And he only had 21 carries the other night. And which is low for him because normally he's in the upper 20s. And normally in the fourth quarter, if it's a 2-scoreless game, he gets the ball every play. Last year he averaged 28 carries a game, which is like old school football. Nobody does that nowadays football because it's all pass. But in games last year when they would get a lead, they would just feed him the ball in the fourth quarter, and he'd get 4, 5, 6, 20, 4, 5, 6, 20. And that's what he would, and that's what he did. I don't see. I think he's got to be a factor against Fort Dorchester. If they don't block if they don't block well, Fort will bottle him up, and then that puts all the pressure on that quarterback, who's a good player and got good receivers. But Fort's good enough to beat you if you're one-dimensional.
Yeah, they're good enough to beat just about anybody. Well, at least around here. But David Shelton, 124 Thursday afternoon. So you got Wando and Berkeley as well. You mentioned, maybe Wando might have a little bit more of a chance in this game for a couple of reasons. Last year, Berkeley went into Mount Pleasant and beat the tar out of them out there at Bob Hayes Field. What do you see when you look at this game?
Different offense, though. Different personnel.
Yeah.
I think it's going to benefit them having played Cane Bay just last week. The game plan defensively could be exactly the same. And again, Cane Bay busted them with the passing game. I think they were like 4 for 4 with 150 yards. One of them was a 90-yard, bomb where the guy was just so wide open. I mean, so wide open. I don't know that Berkeley has that type of passing threat. So maybe, what Wando was doing. Wando gambled a few times. They brought their safety up and they blitzed their corners, and that's how they got beat. But again, Cane Bay is not. You go into that game going, they can't beat us through the air. Mm-hmm. Well, they did, and maybe that's something that they're going to be better at. I think they're going to beat Stratford, I think right now I would say they would beat Berkeley. I don't see them beating Goose Creek. Cane Bay, it's no. I think they could be a 7-8 win team going into the playoff.
Wow, that's tremendous. Holy smokes. What about Darren's game tomorrow night? Ashley Ridge and West Ashley, they're both 2-3, so somebody's going to even this thing up at 500 on the season. Ashley Ridge has had the same problem all year. Shane's got some players on defense, but it's just how long before the dam breaks. They just can't score enough points offensively. I think they've only scored like 52 or 54 points thus far on that side of the football.
Offensively, they're struggling. They've got a quarterback, and he is having to do it all. He's not an experienced guy. He's not a tremendous prospect. He's a good high school player, and he's having to do it all. West Ashley has Gilio Porter and Zaquan Smith and really good defense. I think Ashley Ridge. I think West Ashley will win that game, and basically, if things play out like I think they will, the winner of this game is going to be third in that region, and the loser is going to be fourth. They'll both make the playoffs because Stahl is the fifth team, and we know what Stahl is. But Somerville and Fort are probably the two best teams from what I've seen. Now I think Somerville may have a quarterback issue. I think he got hurt. Well, I know he got hurt. I don't know how long he's out. And that could benefit somebody like a West Ashley. I don't see Ashley Ridge beating Somerville. They again, Fort Dorchester scored 38 points, and that's more than enough to beat Ashley Ridge with the way they are offensively. So I think West Ashley's going to win that game, just because I think they're good enough on defense, and Ashley Ridge is not good enough on offense to score enough points to beat West Ashley. It could be like a 21-10 type game or something like that. Mm-hmm. But again, Ashley Ridge, if they're going to win in 5A, you better be really good, like Monsters of the Midway type good on defense, because you got to score. 5A, big boy football, you got to find ways to score points. And right now they're just, they scored 3 against Cane Bay and lost 6-3. Mm-hmm. They scored 1 touchdown against Fort Dorchester, got beat. They go to Lexington, they scored, I think, 12 points, they got beat. It's one of those deals where they're just struggling offensively. They just don't have the personnel to just routinely find the end zone. Not awful, but just not good enough. And it puts a lot of pressure on that defense.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking high school football, not the Gamecocks.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. I appreciate that.
It sounded like the Gamecocks.
It sure did.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like this.
And the Tigers, to be honest with you.
That's true. Offense in this state's pretty poor right now, unless you're Coastal, who gets Arkansas State tonight. So Stratford's got Cane Bay on Friday night. The Knights are 1-3. They can't score either. Of course, they did have Somerville last week. You mentioned how good their defense is. And prior to that, they had West Ashland defensively. They're pretty good as well. They hung 44 on Goose Creek, but they gave up 69. It didn't work out generally. So they're 1-3, David. They got 4 games to go. The playoffs are you pretty much wave those bye-bye. We've known Denny a long time. Denny McDaniel is, man, he's as good as they come when it comes to making human beings. It is so difficult. This is the rest of their schedule. Cane Bay, they got to go to Wando, Berkeley, Goose Creek. Now, maybe there's a win.
They played Goose Creek. They already played Goose Creek.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They already played it. So whoever replaces
they moved that game up.
Yeah. So whoever replaces Goose Creek in that last one, somebody's going to replace them. I don't know who it's going to be. Hopefully it's Stahl. But I just, this is really difficult to look at and see this. I mean, I'm from the time and the day and age, as you have known essentially your whole career covering high school sports around here. Stratford, 1, maybe 2 wins in a season. That there's something, it doesn't click. What's going on up there? What's the talent level like? I know obviously everything changed when they opened all these new high schools and redrew the district lines and all that type stuff. But Denny had this thing really on track a couple of years ago and thought, oh, shoot, man, a couple of years they're going to be pretty good, but they're really struggling.
Yeah, numbers are down. For a 5A school, they do not have a lot of players. For whatever reason, they've had some transfers. They've had some kids transfer out the last couple of years. They graduated a quarterback. Their running back, that was a really good player, moved to Maryland. So they're offensively, they lack the personnel. The quarterback they have right now is not a bad player, but he's young and he's inexperienced, and it's just not clicking right now. I don't know. I think numbers is a problem. Graduation, transfers, all that stuff adds up. And basically, that Wando game is pretty much for a playoff spot. If you assume that Berkeley, Cane Bay, and Goose Creek are going to get those 3 spots, and again, Berkeley-Wando this week could determine that. If Wando beats Berkeley, then the Stratford-Berkeley game will probably be for a playoff spot. Those 3 are going to get 2 of the spots. So the Wando-Stratford game could be for a playoff spot. So, but if Stratford loses out, they obviously Wando and Berkeley will get that spot. And I kind of think that's how it's going to play out. But this is not the Ray Stackley years. This is not pre-Cane Bay. Before Cane Bay came along, Stratford, Ray Stackley wasn't stupid. He saw the writing on the wall. When you open up another 5A school and it takes, 1,800 of your kids, you're going to suffer. So it suffered after Ray left under Joe Marion. They had some awful seasons, 2-win seasons. I want to say they might have had a 2 and a 3. It was not good. So that became a problem. And then it just has, even though they got some players back, they redrew the lines. They got some numbers back. I should say students. They didn't get players. So the school was busting at the seams, but ain't a whole lot of football players, walking around. So it's a tough deal right now. And I don't think it's coaching. Obviously I don't think it's coaching. It's just not there. It's just not working right now. I think last year they won 4 games, and they had a veteran quarterback, Davis, who's now at Clemson playing baseball, and they just haven't replaced the people they lost. I think losing the running back I want to say he would have been a sophomore, but Jaden Austin. He was a pretty good back, and losing him was a big blow. And then they had a defensive end transfer to Fort. And 2 years ago, they had their best receiver transferred to First Baptist, Jalen Hayward. In fact, they've had several. The boy is Sincere.
Yeah.
He went to the University of South Florida.
Yeah. Brown. Wasn't it Brown? Sincere Brown?
And Woodland has gotten a transfer or two from there. So they've had problems keeping kids in their program. I make the joke, but it's not a joke. There is a transfer portal in high school football, and the doors are wide open. And Stratford is taking the hit in that area.
Wow, that transfer portal has been open for a long time, David. You know that. All right, before I let you run, I do want to hit on this one. It is a big statewide game. Dorman and Gaffney. This game is at Gaffney this weekend. Gaffney is 6-0. Dorman is 3-2, but they've won their last two games, outscoring opponents 89-34. Pretty good numbers there for the Cavaliers. So that's there in the Upstate. I know it'll come up tomorrow night on the scoreboard show with you and Phil on late, I guess 10 o'clock or so tomorrow night. But have you looked into this game? This is a very interesting matchup here. Could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Dorman's getting healthy. When they played Fort Dorchester, they were not healthy. Well, Fort wasn't very healthy either. But Dorman's getting healthy, and they're putting it together pretty nicely. I don't know that they can go to Gaffney and win. Gaffney's really good, but it'll be a good game. They'll find a way to score some points. I look for that game to the over-under being 65 or 70. I mean, there'll be some touchdowns scored. And because Gaffney's really solid. They can run the ball. They got a really nice quarterback, Grayson Loftus, who transferred from Blue Ridge over to Gaffney, came through the portal, as they say. And but they're really good offensively, and of course defensively they're always good. But having saw Dorman against Fort, I saw the pieces. I mean, even they were without some guys, but you could tell they were going to be pretty decent. So I think this game will draw a lot of interest. It'll be a packed house, and it'll be a typical Dorman versus Gaffney type game of yesteryear, so to speak.
Yeah, it's hard to look at Gaffney's schedule and think that if they win this game that they won't, for some reason, that they won't go undefeated. They should if they win this game. Nation, Ford, Clover, and Fort Mill better watch out coming up next. But already beat Somerville this year 35-7. They beat Burns a couple weeks ago by 30 points. Did the Indians? So we'll keep our eyes on this one. Yeah, definitely.
They're going to. I mean, in 5A, Dutch Fork is obviously the king of the hill right now, and the only team in the lower state that I think has a glimmer of hope is Fort Dorchester. But in the upstate, you got Gaffney, Northwestern, T.O. Hanna, Dorman, I think, is going to be in that mix. But it's a really competitive situation in the upstate. Not so much in the lower state. I mean, there are some other good teams. I don't want to, say that they're Dutch Fork's just so dang good, man. They're so good. They scored 28 points in the first quarter and they coast. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to find a way to score with them, and that's why I say a team like Fort Dorchester, I think, can score with them. But the way they performed in the playoffs last year, you just don't know. I mean, they laid a big egg, but somebody's going to have to beat Dutch Fork, and in order to do that, they're going to have to score 35 to 40 points to beat Dutch Fork, because they just find a way. I mean, they are so. I mean, they had a really good quarterback transfer in from North Carolina, and he's not even starting.
Yeah,
like the kid transferred there looking to be the Dutch Fork quarterback, and he got beat out. Yeah, I mean, that's just that's how good they are.
Good luck scoring 35 points on Dutch Fork.
Yeah.
Dave, we'll let you run on that note, man. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Good for you. You don't have the TV game. So you can get your grub and get in your work, and then go have some fun with Phil on the scoreboard tomorrow night. Should be a refreshing, hopefully rain-free Friday night.
God, I hope so. Sure, I hope so.
Yeah, me too. I got to cut my damn grass in this weather.
That'd be my luck. I don't get the TV game, and I get a monsoon game. I don't need that. I don't need that rain.
Nah,
I think if you're Goose Creek, you wouldn't mind a wet field and a lot of rain, but
true.
That would just that may or may not be a factor. But I think if I'm Goose Creek, I'd want a sloppy field.
If it's pouring, it'll be a factor because their field is not good. I mean, it's not in good shape. They could benefit from a new field.
Yeah. I was talking to Jason Winstead earlier this year about that because they let the youth leagues use it on Saturday, and they played B team varsity JV. It has never been a great surface. Like when it rains there, it can get pretty sloppy. So, and the rain we had yesterday and Tuesday, I'm sure it's wet right now. And if they want a wet field, they're probably running the sprinkler system right now. Don't think teams don't do that, boy.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they're all going to turf. Tactics. All right, David. Thank you, buddy. Have a wonderful weekend. Great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate it.
Okay, man. Y'all take care.
See you.
There you go. David Shelton, Post and Courier. 1:40 Thursday afternoon. Final timeout. Scott Glaze up next on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Final 15 minutes with Scott Glaze, director of golf director, golf pro, Good Hair Club president, all that stuff out there at Stono Ferry, stonoferrygolf.com, Hollywood, the original beautiful Hollywood, South Carolina, which is also the home of What's the dang barbecue place down the road?
Oh gosh, I haven't been. I know it.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that's terrible of me.
I know.
I know the filling station's down the road. That's
the filling station.
Give them a shout out.
They have some pretty sweet cheeseburgers down there.
Yeah.
Boogie's barbecue.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Boogie's barbecue.
Google.
We need to get down there. Got to try it out.
Oh, it's good. It's great. We haven't been there in over a year now, but it's really, really, really good. Much like golf at Stono Ferry. What's it been like out there the last couple of days? All this weather, man, it's killing everybody.
It's a little wet. It's a little wet, to say the least. But we're drying out today. Yeah, it's been good. We're kind of cranking back in. I'm ready for some fall weather, but it's still humid. But the golf course is playing great right now. Really, always in the fall season, the golf course plays about as good as it does all year because we're past the grow in of the summer, so all the grass is really healthy. Usually in the spring, when you're coming off the winter, the course can play fast and play firm and fast, but the grass is maybe not as lush or as healthy as it is right now in October. So we're looking forward to a great fall season and just keep it rolling. We're excited. We've got our oyster roast, our member oyster roast, which is an annual thing we do. I actually did not do it in 2020 due to COVID. Bringing it back, and we do it under the oak trees over there on the 14th hole. Got that going on Saturday night. So everybody, that's kind of the buzz on Stono Ferry right now.
So what do you just put everybody in golf carts and take them out there?
Yeah, well, we've got a Sprinter van that will shuttle people down, and then we've got probably about 40% of our membership, 35-40% of our membership lives within the gates of Stono Ferry. And if they have a personal golf cart, or if they want to walk, they can just come right on down. And we'll have a lot of people out there, live music, bushels of oysters, shrimp and grits. Our friends at Dixieland Delights do the catering for this event. So,
are y'all going to play Alabama? You're going to be playing some Alabama?
I don't know. We actually. I have not previewed our band yet, so I hope we got some good stuff.
Who is the band? Who is the band?
Great question. That's out of my pay grade there. I don't know. I didn't hire the band.
So what do you know?
Sounds good. I mean, the band will be fine. It'll be good. The food sounds great. I'm ready for it.
Food's what you got to have. We'll have bushels of oysters. Classic. Just dump them on the table. Bring your own knife if you want to, but we got it all. Some people like to put it on saltine. Some go lemon. Some go hot sauce. Some go cocktail sauce. We've got just
eat the damn oysters. What do you need all that crap for? Just eat the oysters.
I'm with you.
We've got a lot of people from above that Mason-Dixon line that have migrated down here.
That's why when you go downtown to these oyster bars, they're like, hey, would you like a tray of oysters? Sure. By the way, I used to have a oyster catering business. That's what I did. Like I grew up doing. I could do this in my sleep. And I'd take a tray of oysters. How many? There's a dozen. Okay, how much is that? $48. Go F yourself. For what? Do you eat these cold oysters you just shipped here from Pennsylvania? Yeah. No thanks. I'll go pick them myself and be just fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what y'all do locals at Stono. That's what I love about y'all.
Yes. We've got local oysters and we do there are people who don't like oysters, so we've got some Southern favorites. Like I said, shrimp and grits, red beans and rice, which is one of my favorite dishes of all time.
Yep.
Salad options, peach cobbler, ice cream. I mean, it's good. One of our best events of the year. So a good little benefit for being a member of Stono Ferry.
Shrimp stew, shrimp gumbo, shrimp sandwich. Pretty much, yeah. Well, that's just, I want to make shrimp and grits now. I'm waiting, I try to get a little bit cold. Do what?
A little bit colder. I wish the weather were a little cooler, but the way it turns out, our owner is a very, very proud South Carolina alumni. So we strategically align events like this on away games, if you can't tell.
Yeah, and predict kick times. Obviously, you did that. Gamecocks play at noon, so good for you. Smart people out there. If there's any, if there could be any more reasons to book a tea time at Stono Ferry. Well, by the way, with all that food, it is also National Chocolate Covered Pretzel Day. You have any of those that are going to be there?
One of my favorites there. One of my favorite. Love a sweet and salty snack. Don't have any here though.
Right.
By the way, sweet and salty snack. Did you see Pepsi unveils? I think it's only for the postseason, maybe for a couple more months. Cracker Jack flavored Pepsi.
Whoa!
What?
Okay, right, but just take a second. It could be good, like the Yuva. It sounds awful, but it's the mixture in your mouth is good. This could work.
I think it could. You get your kind of caramel, which is already kind of what Pepsi is. A little bit of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Might try it out.
I haven't drank a Pepsi in years. I don't remember what they taste like. I guess I'll have to try one of those. I don't drink soft drinks, so people ask, what do you want in your bourbon? Yeah, Coke, Diet Coke, ginger ale. I'm like, bourbon. What do you drink in your bourbon? It's pretty simple. All right, so they might drink some bourbon in the match. I don't know. Maybe these guys get along. I still think there's something's missing in this whole story. Like, they got to be texting each other behind the scenes, like, "Yeah, we really got him today, Brooksy." Yeah, we did, Bryson. There's got to be more to it. They're about to make a killing off of their feud. They're going to make so much money off of a 12-hole match. I don't even know where are they playing this. Vegas?
They're playing at the Wynn, at the Wynn Resort in Vegas, which kind of newly renovated by Tom Fazio. Really cool golf course because it's like right in the middle of Las Vegas Boulevard there, right in the Strip. I mean, if you can see the whole Strip the whole time you play. So I'm sure that's going to be part of the fanfare of the match. Yeah.
Why are they only playing 12 holes?
Great question. I have not gotten a great answer on that. All I can think is that these other matches have when they're 18 holes or potentially 18 holes, they take a certain amount of time. It's faster than a normal PGA Tour round, it seems. But because this is two guys who are very well known in golf circles, but I don't think either guy is really broken outside of the golf circles too much. I mean, for a casual fan over the Thanksgiving weekend, I don't think they really know too much about Brooks Koepka or Bryson DeChambeau other than they are great golfers. But I think a very casual fan probably doesn't know of their feud. So they're probably just looking for ways for people to tune in for a couple hours, not maybe invest 4. They can maybe invest 2 hours, maybe 2.5 for a 12-hole match. I'd love to know the answer, though. It's kind of bizarre to have just a 12-hole match, not 9, not 18, not what we're used to seeing, to go 12.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. I mean, we'll all watch it, obviously, because will they talk? Are they going to be mic'd up? What are they saying about each other behind the other? Like that dip, you know what I mean?
They'll be mic'd. I mean, that's part of the appeal of the format of the match is that not only are they mic'd, but they have the ability to talk with the crew that's doing the game also.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love these I love these matches. Darren and I were talking earlier at the top of the show, Scotty, about how to get like Hollywood flair in it, but funny Hollywood, like lighthearted. Like I don't need anybody that's overly political and crap like that. I like the movie Grown Ups. Like, could they come up with the Grown Ups 3 and have Grown Ups sponsor a match and have like all the a few of the great golfers out there in the game, these two and whoever, and then here comes David Spade and Adam Sandler and the big guy Kevin, whatever his name is, Kevin James. Darren mentioned Kevin Hart. Like, how funny would Rob Schneider be on a golf course? You know what I mean? Like, he might eat a golf ball. I mean, like these guys, like, can we see something like that? Would that be entertaining? I don't know if any of them can play or not.
Yeah, I think that'd be entertaining. That's the biggest thing about the match. I think this format of 12 holes could be great for going forward, especially when you start to incorporate, like you said, maybe some comedians, some actors, some other athletes. It really is great. I do think with these two, we'll see how staged it feels or scripted it feels between these two, because I am continuously under the impression that these guys, this is a little bit of a shtick for them to get that bonus money at the end of the year from the PGA Tour. And for them to have this match, I mean, the social media exposure that goes out promoting this, and then while the event's going on, that's really going to blow up those algorithms that they use to determine who is moving the needle in order to get some money from the PGA Tour. So we'll see how it goes. It could be great. It could be really awkward. I mean, when you watch Bryson DeChambeau, the guy is kind of the king of awkward. He never really looks smooth in anything that he does. And so we'll see. It's going to be great. We haven't seen a bad one yet in terms of these matches. So I think that will continue.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I really do. I mean, I think that you'll know, like we will know in the broadcast, this is okay. They've been stringing us along and here we are, I mean, I'd really like to see one of them like throw a club at the other one though. Like, you know what I mean? Like seriously, if you really don't like him, go tell him on national television. We want to see it. Like y'all tweet about it. You talk behind each other's backs. Apparently go say it to his face on national TV. It's not going to be like, it's not like it's going to be surprising. You know what I mean? Everybody would talk about getting engagement. Everybody would be engaged in that. They are engaged in Vegas now at the TPC Summerlin. Old Adam Schenk is leading, him and Sung Kang. I know one of your old pals from the College of Charleston. It's 6 under through 11. There is old Sung Kang. This is a huge field. I didn't realize how many players were in it this week out there in Vegas. Martin Laird won it last year, but my God, there's 100-something players in this field.
Yeah, big field, and scrolling all the way through, one of our good buddies, Kyle Westmoreland, Air Force veteran, went to the Air Force Academy, played golf at the Air Force Academy, still trying to make it on the PGA Tour. He qualified for the U.S. Open last year, but our connection with Kyle Westmoreland is while he was stationed here in Charleston, Stono Ferry was his home course. So look out for his name. I just happened to see that he was playing. He's got some sponsors exemptions. Huge field. We're going to see some bigger names play again this week with the CJ Cup that's upcoming next week. That's also in Vegas. So we will see, which was one. Jason Kokrak won that last year. It was where did they play it last year? Drawing a blank, but either way, playing some great golf courses out in Vegas the next 2 weeks. So good time for guys to get out there and kind of kickstart this new season, even though it's still 2021. We still have this wraparound season going on, and we'll see some of the guys from the Ryder Cup back in action. And it's tough with as many great football games that we have going on Saturday and then the NFL going on Sunday. It's tough to get a lot of eyeballs on golf right now. And I mean, me included. And I love watching and keeping up with golf, and I will certainly keep up with it and watch the leaderboard and watch. I do like, especially for today and tomorrow with it being out there in Vegas, we can watch a little bit of golf in prime time. So be good to see it that way. But even the tour knows that this is not its most marketable time this time of year. So they can chalk it up as a little bit of a loss. And I think that's why there are rumors that starting in 2023, we will no longer have this wraparound season, which I think is great for the tour if they do actually go forward with that.
What will they, final question here, what will they do? What will that season look like if they change it?
If they change it, you would lose a few events on tour, which I would hate that for some of the cities on tour that have events. I mean, potentially that Sea Island event that we're going to have later in the fall, potentially that's one that would get cut. Maybe some of these Vegas events, you might lose some of your international events. I know that there's this allegiance now with European Tour and the PGA Tour to where they're going to be sanctioned events, like the Scottish Open will be a sanctioned PGA Tour event, although it's on the European Tour. So there could be some things like that, but your constant great events on the PGA Tour will stay. It's going to be the ones that just happen to fall either this time of year or not generating the same numbers as your big events. Those will probably get cut, and then we'll be able to be done with the PGA Tour season by football season. Let everybody have a nice break and get back after it in Hawaii in January.
Great place to be in January, Hawaii. No doubt about that. Yeah, except it's expensive as crap.
Well,
we all know that. Scotty, thank you so much. I just really hope y'all have a wonderful time Saturday night. The Stono Ferry Oyster Roast out there on the 14th. That's going to be it's not going to rain Saturday. It's going to be a beautiful day, and man, y'all are going to have a lot of fun. So I wish I could be there, but I can't be there. Mm-hmm. So have fun eating those oysters. Tell all the Yankees, get rid of the rest of that crap. Just crack it and go.
That's right. Well, thank you. It's like I said, one of the great benefits to membership, and that's something we don't talk about here a lot. We talk about tee times or lessons or whatnot, but we do what I feel is the best membership experience in the Low Country. One of your good buddies joined this week there, JB, so you'll have to get out here a little bit more.
Does he live in the neighborhood?
Lives in the neighborhood, yeah.
Tall guy,
hits
throws left-handed, can hit it both sides. Yeah.
So he, finally, about time. So, but yeah, great. We have great membership
he will
out here.
Let me give you some assurance. He'll pay his bills.
Good. We like that. But
I didn't know that he did that. I'm glad that he did. I probably need to. We haven't talked in a few weeks, or maybe not that long, but it's been a couple weeks at least or so. I'm glad that he did that because I've invited him to play 3 or 4 different times the last 2 off seasons, and every time there's been an excuse. I finally said, "Look, you must just suck. You lost your game. I get it. It's no big deal. Just admit that you suck, and you don't have to come play with me."
Yeah.
Oh, I'll still kick your ass. Okay. So we'll see now. I'll go out there on his dime. This will be great.
That's right. I'll sneak you his member number if you need to charge anything.
Absolutely. No more pro bono. Our little relationship that we have here. We'll just give away golf to all of our listeners if you don't mind. You don't have to take care of me ever again. Just send that over, and I'm gonna run it right up, baby. This is gonna be awesome. I can't wait. Awesome. Darren, you want to play?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. All right. Go ahead. What is that membership? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. Thank you, man. Y'all have a great time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Now that the weather's cooling down, I look forward to getting out there pretty soon as well and trying to get some fall golf in. Can't wait for that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.
Always. Yes, sir. You too. There you go. Scott Glaze, Stono Ferry Golf. StonoFerryGolf.com. Book your tee times. If you become a member before Saturday, you can go to the Oyster Roast.
I mean, that's enough right there.
Pays for it. Local oysters, beer, hot dogs, shrimp and grits, 14th green. And it's right on the water. You can jump into the Stono River, swim around. It's awesome. Thanks to Scott, David Cloninger, and Shelton, and Darren, and all of you. David Smith, Craig, so many of you. We have thousands of people every day watching and listening to our programs. So cool. We really love it. We're back tomorrow. The big Gamecock preview show at 1. Rafael Esparza at 12:30. JC returns. Flint returns. Can't wait for all that. JB and Goldwater, proudly presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be back then at noon. See you then.